you know, how she believes that the provisions of the Constitution are not being implemented to the full because we have decided that people get into office and within 6 months they declare their assets when they should be declaring their assets before they get into office. She's also called for the election of the Attorney General and the Special Prosecutor. I don't know what my good friend Raymond Akwa thinks about these.
It reminds me of a certain conversation recently about judges who had not declared their assets as of the time they had
Yes.
taken office and all of that, and all the very fanciful things we said about it, and all the very nice ways we went about it, and said, oh, well, I mean, they could do it along the line. I think the most important thing I pick from all of this is that I agree. If we do not fix our values as a people, forget whichever system we put in place, we surely may not be able to get the best out of it. Because you, for example, can have a very wonderful constitution with all the brilliant laws in the country. Very corrupt police officers will make it impossible for you to implement it on the ground. On one hand, they will not enforce it. Very corrupt judges will also make it impossible for justice to be delivered in the courts. And terrible interpretation of the laws will be done in ways that you can really not consider that to be justice. So, I mean, at the core of all of this is indeed having a proper value system for a state. A state that does not depend on the end justifying the means. A state that does not question people's wealth. So I got the part to do with people declaring their assets and all of that. I know that I reached a point, even Dom Level said that he was going to facilitate the process with a platform online so that it can easily be submitted, all of your documents or whatever you need submitted as early as possible so that it can be checked and we can get to the bottom of this. But we all do know in this country that the gentleman left school a couple of years after that. He did follow some political parties, then later on became deputy minister. This gentleman all of a sudden has all the wealth in the country. He lives in some of the biggest houses in the top class place in this country, and we are very convinced that this is hard work. You cannot you cannot run such a society and still pretend that your laws will work, because along the lines, virtually everybody has closed their eyes to it. No serious financial institution is investigating him. Nobody cares about the transactions he's done, how he bought the house, how he's actually getting the biggest of the cars in the country. And it actually cuts across those in government, those in opposition. And if you and I can count, we can count classmates, we can count schools, colleagues, people who are struggling to find meaningful jobs with their certificates, who just because they entered into politics and they have been part of the political structure now are into big time transactions. When states allow this to happen, when it looks like when the system only works when there's some non-entity somewhere who are stealing something very small, that kind of system is not one that has proper values. How can you have proper values when it is everybody's dream to join the political system to make money? Check why these assembly elections are done and why the people are complaining on the ground. That they want the guy who would give them money to be the one elected. Not because the guy is really interested in their development. Check it with the member of parliament, the one they choose, the one the guy who actually came around and shared money, the richer guy to be, not the guy with vision, not the guy with proper appreciation of the development of the people. So if you run this, I call it a Trojan horse democracy, and pretend that you are in a proper democratic state where accountability matters, where we know it doesn't, right? If it really mattered, the current health minister will not be minister of this country if accountability really mattered. So we cannot put all of them together and make them nice words. Listen, it's not the first time we have heard things like this. We know that these things are the problems with our democracy, but we nicely push them under the carpet and pretend the state will work and pretend that we'll have institutions working. We know that they're very independent people who worked very hard for this state in various capacities, who were thrown out, and Dom Level is an example of this particular structure. And yet, the entire state basically say, oh, well, it's bad. Some also say, oh, well, we are opposed to this. We wrote letters. But we who have the power did not do anything to tell the people that we are put in power that no, we insist on the right structures happening and working the way it ought to work. So, I mean, it's to me very painful when we have to repeat these things and pretend that we don't know what to do. When everybody in government, the very best of our brains are also in government. Let's not forget that. They are trained in some of the best schools outside. They know what is good. and yet we end up doing exactly the opposite of what is right. Exactly what else do we want to fix this country with? Exactly how do you want this country to run in this current state where everybody is indirectly looking for opportunity to steal and amass wealth? I mean, of course, we're tired, we pretend, we go to church, we also pretend, but indirectly, that's the vision. And you can see it by the way they do their things, by the way they, in a matter of years into government, become rich, and they live in government to become poor. Then they come back to government, they become rich again, on the salary, on the monies, on the sweat of the poor people in the country. And yet, when they say we should fix our values, the people, and that's where, for example, I believe Clara is a wonderful person, but at the core of this, Clara is not the one fixing the values of the country. We know the people who have the power and the ultimate strength to be able to fix it. Those people are not the ones at the helm of it. They're not the ones speaking. They're not the ones who are willing to fix it. So when people like Clara sit and talk and make all of the wonderful points, we do know that the target is those that we begin the power to fix the systems required to make us move forward. But those people are not the ones fixing it because it benefits, it's in their interest that the current system is broken. They can buy votes. They can manipulate the system. They can push it the direction that they want so that they can reap the benefits that they want from it.
Yeah. So I like the fact that Clara is reminding us of some of the gaps, right? And talking about how to resolve this. And this is also a period where a lot of people are either talking about changing the constitution or making amendments. So if we're reminded of what the constitution even says now and how Parliament has operationalized what the constitution says and made it possible for people to get away with it, it's a good thing. You get it, for us. And I think we have a responsibility to keep reminding our listeners and our followers what it should be, what the constitution says, and what Parliament has done so that it's making it easy for people to get away with some of these things. But she also says very importantly that if we don't know what you have declared, how do we know that after the 6 months you've added something that you didn't have before to it? Because the thing is sitting there and nobody knows what is in it. And then she also goes on to talk about the fact that once the president obviously appoints almost every public corporation head and institutions, the people do everything to win political power, because political power also means access to appointments into public services. And it has also created a situation where some public officers feel more accountable to the political party that got them into office than the ordinary citizen. And this is our reality today. If only we can remind the leaders that this is what you are doing, this is contrary to what the Constitution says, I guess we will be making them more accountable. Remember, the theme that she was speaking on was the role of the citizen in protecting the public purse. I think that these are very important points to keep all of us on track. Let us be familiar with these things so that we can remind them of what they're not doing.
Integrity is key. You need people who have high moral grounds. Those persons would come in and ensure right things are done and not enriching oneself. Over the period, our society has become one that everybody, given the chance, wants to enrich him or herself. And recently I had a conversation with a senior citizen, and he said, why should I speak to you? Because the people I am fighting for are only waiting to also come into office and steal from the state. And so I think that, look, for me,
The cycle.
the cycle is this. It is going to go round and round. But I don't want to believe we can't do anything about it. There's something we should be able to do. And that's why I agree perfectly. Look, when the Nigerian president, Buhari, declared his assets, it was public. We knew. In Ghana, you declare your assets as for the Auditor General. We need to make asset declaration public. Let us know what you have before you are coming into office. Yeah. And it should not end there. You should declare your assets together with your spouse, so that over a period, because we have seen people amassing wealth and properties in the name of their spouses. So when you ask them, he says, but I don't own this. It's for my wife, it's for my husband. all these are politically exposed people. And that is where we should be taking it to. Otherwise, we'd have a situation where somebody comes into office, like we've seen and we keep talking about all the time. So there's a lot to be done. And I agree with, Clara. She makes a very valid point. And I'm sure, going forward, some of these things should be shaping our conversation. But we need to move on. We'll continue having this conversation as the days go by. But now time for us to mark World Habitat Day, and we're marking it with a conversation on how we can deal with our unplanned neighborhoods. And it's something that I'm sure many of you will be interested in. We have seen suburbs springing up, unplanned, and after the areas spring up, then we're not thinking of a drainage system. We're not thinking of good roads. But the question is, when they were moving in there, did we not see them? How do we deal with this? Should we be thinking of, giving lands to estate developers who would, have roads constructed so that when you're going to build or when you're going to buy, you know that I'm buying a land in a place which is, has good roads and potable drinking water and everything, and potable water and everything. Stay with us here on the Super Morning Show. When we return, we'll be joined by Mr. Alfred Kwesi Poku, who is former president of the Ghana Institution of Planners and former board member of the National Development Planning Commission, and Daniel Edu, who is project manager, Cities and Habitats.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs: your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glycolife, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM. Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy